Well, welcome back to the Johnathon Cole Show. We are finally in day 10 of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. 2 interviews today, and we're going to start off with none other than the C5 man himself, Tyson Cardinal. Welcome to the Johnathon Cole Show. Great to have you here. What a week it's been.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, long week.
Long week.
Like you said, day 10, finally. Excited to get home.
Yes.
So much stuff I could do at home. But, I mean, it's always a blessing just to be here and show our horses. And
you said 22 days.
22 days from when I left home till I get home. It's 22 days or 23 days. Yeah, so
wow.
It's a stretch for us, yeah.
And a big year for you guys this year. Virgil is going to buck tonight for the very final time.
Yes, yeah. It's sad, but, you
sad,
know.
but
there's nothing more that we could win out of him.
Yeah.
He's won it all, you know.
He's won it all.
He's won it all. Bronzes in Calgary, Horse of the World 3 times now, and the Bronx and Bears.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all the awards, they mean so much to me, you know, because you're taking these horses down the road. It's like taking your kids. You know, you're so proud of them. If your kid ever hit the NHL, you'd be so proud of that kid. You know what I mean? It's like these kids, they made it here to the NFR, and to have the best one in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? And not just owners saying that, but for everyone voted on it. So he is the best in the world. It means so much to me.
Well, let's go one step further. He will go down in history as one, if not the greatest bucking horse of all time.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had, like, his careers right from he was 4 years old to his 18 now. He's always done it, you know? You could always be 90 on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could always be 90 on him.
And you can still go be 90 on him, and he's 18.
He's 18, yeah.
Yeah, and hasn't even missed a lick.
Yeah, well, do it tonight.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the one cool thing about it is that there really isn't anything more for him to win.
No.
Except for
Bull riding.
a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Fame, yeah.
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 That's it. They set a world record on him.
Yeah, yeah.
They, you know, you know, how many horses do we hear of or know of out there that are super good in the bareback riding? They're the best, and then they go to the saddle bronc riding, and they still don't miss a lick.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's not too many. Just a freak, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, there's not too many out.
Just a horse that loves to buck.
Yeah, loves his job. Yeah.
Legendary career, and so excited for C5 to, you know, be able to hold on to that, you know, precious Hall of Fame piece of, you know, livestock, you know, athlete. He's unbelievable.
He is.
Unbelievable.
And they're blessed, yeah.
Yeah.
Blessed, yeah.
So what's the plan for him now?
Well,
what's his retirement going to look like?
You know, I had so many committees come up to me when I announced that, and I got the award. A lot of committees gave me a text or call or come talk to me, and a lot of them want me to still pack him and bring him to the rodeos and do his lap. You know what I mean?
His lap.
Yeah, and I don't have nothing against that, because I mean, he's still fit to do whatever.
Yeah.
He's still fit to go bucking. You know? Yeah. But I don't mind that. I'm thinking of doing that, you know, because he's going to miss it, and I'm going to miss putting him on the truck. So we'd both love it. You know what I mean? So I think that'd be a pretty cool idea just to do that.
Is he going to stay in Montana, or is he going to go back to Lac La Biche?
He's coming home with me. Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to hang out with me.
Nice.
I get to see him every day.
Nice.
That's going to be,
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm so excited to be able to say that horse comes from Canada.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've had, you know, we've had so many great bucking horses come out of Canada, but Graded Coconut, Virgil, like 2 of the best of all time. It is so inspiring to see that we bring such great athletes on the livestock side from Canada. Great job to C5. Yeah. You guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
Let's talk Tyson Cardinal, because we talked C5, you know, we talk Virgil, we talk. Let's get the history behind the guy in the bowler hat and the bow ties and the cool outfits. Let's talk about your upbringing. Talk about, you know, where you come from, what got you into the sport of rodeo.
So I grew up on a reserve called Goodfish Lake. That's the nation I come from. That's where I grew up right from I was a baby. Born in Fort McMurray, moved to Goodfish from a baby right till I was finished school, you know, and it is a reserve. It was tough, you know, and if you haven't grown up on a reserve or hung out with someone that grew up on a reserve, you don't know, you know what I mean? Like it was, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was tough. It was your surroundings that were tough. You know, I grew up I remember every day walking to the bus, and I had drug dealers live right across me, you know what I mean? It was just treacherous to get to because of them stinking dogs, and we always laugh because when I was a kid, growing up, I was lightning bolt fast, you know what I mean? And they always say, well, it's because of those res dogs that chased you all around. It probably was, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I had a job at the store pumping gas, and for me the bus would drop me off, but coming home, I'd walk home from the store, and I knew there was one dog there that I had to get by, and every day, you know, you had to strategically plan how to get around this dog, and, you know, it was tough, like the surroundings, and like I said, the drug dealers, there was such a rough crowd. It was a very rough crowd. I remember a lot of things that, you know, like there's a lot of things that you could say that were bad, you know what I mean? Like, I know that, like even the school that they had for us, you know, it was like, I'm pretty sure I want to say it was like one of the last day schools, you know, you ever hear like the residential schools and stuff like that. There was like 2 left. I think it was My Nation and one in Saskatchewan, and I went to one, and I remember everyone's scared of dentists, but I have good reasoning. I remember them strapping me down and drilling and no numbing. You know what I mean? I never knew that until I went to a normal dentist where they gave me a needle in my mouth. It was tough, like the school that the little Indians went through. You know, it was tough growing up there, but I wouldn't change it now that I'm here. You know, it made me who I am. You know, just being tough and growing up around all these tough people, and you know, not just physically tough but mentally tough. It made you mentally tough. You know, you could take a scolding, you know, and you just didn't get in trouble from your parents. You got in trouble from everybody. You know what I mean? Like, get the F out of here. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it was different for sure. Like I said, I wouldn't change it. I had a great group of buddies I grew up with, you know, and we all kind of just took care of each other, you know. So for me to be where I'm at, I mean, I get it when I go home and see people from my nation. They're super proud of me, you know, from what I was to where I am now, you know. And I don't even think of it like that, you know. I just kind of thank God that everything has kind of worked out the way it did work out for me. You know, these horses really saved my life. I'm not saying that I'd be dead, maybe jail, or who knows, you know what I mean? The way that I grew up. But yeah, growing up on the reserve was tough, and people can make fun of it. People don't know anything about it. But I mean, if you have a native friend, like, man, it sucks that you have to live with that. You know, go to play hockey. You know what I mean? All the big boys beat you up every day. You always got beat. You always got bullied. You know, there was not one kid on the res could probably say they never got bullied or beat up by. You know what I mean? So it was good though. I mean, it made me who I am. So yeah.
I actually got, you know, I'm no way am I trying to put myself in your shoes, but when I joined the Mounties, my first post was Chate Assumption in northwestern Alberta, and so I actually got the experience of living right on the reserve for 2 years. And to this day, when somebody says to me, what was your most fun, rewarding time as a police officer, and if you ever had to go back somewhere to do it again, where would you go? It's Assumption every time.
Really, eh? Yeah.
Because, you know, as hard as it was, as hard as it was to see, as hard as it was, you know, to be there and watch that, you know, you're just trying to do the best you can to keep these people safe without, and it was funny because at the end of my career there, and you'll be able to elaborate on this, towards the end of my time there, I asked one of the elders, I said, why don't you guys help yourselves to make these changes, like to stop the violence, to do this, like what? Like I was so frustrated because I just wanted to help them end the violence. And I remember this conversation so vividly, and I'll take it for as long as I live. She said, you have to understand something. She said, you guys come and go. You're in for 2 years, you're out for 2 years. She said, we have to live here for the rest of our lives. So every decision that we make, we have to live in this community for the rest of our lives. You know, I never understood that. And I never saw that. And I said, you know what? She's so right. She is so right. But I'll tell you, you know, loved the dry meat, the bannock. Like
I
just
wait to get home.
I just loved it. It was such a great place to work. I learned so much. They were such good people. Like people were like, "Oh, did you ever get your vehicles vandalized? Anything?" And I said, "Never." I said, you could. I didn't have kids then, but members' kids played out in the front lawn. They were running down the street. No, they never ever got bothered. It was the best place to work, and I'd go back there again.
Really?
A heartbeat to do it again.
Very cool. Yeah.
How did you allow that? I mean, there is, especially being and working on a reserve, there is that pressure, and there's that stigma that these bad individuals or these kids that you grew up with that bullied you and stuff, to move into that kind of trend.
100%.
Did you fall into that? Did you find yourself falling into that?
100% I did, yeah. 100% I did. I mean, I wasn't, if anyone knew me as, no one in the rodeo world knows me as a young man. 100% I was, I mean, I was a pretty bad little individual. I was your typical little Indian kid that was bad. You know what I mean? The alcohol, the drugs, and just, if you got forced to sell something, you know what I mean? You did it, or you're going to get beat up, or you're going to be, they make fun of you, and you didn't want that growing up on the ridge because you had to be hard and you wanted to be like the other boys, you know what I mean? And 100% I fell into all of that. And I mean, thank God I had good parents. If it wasn't for my parents, I remember growing up, my mom she's an angel, and my dad was pretty hard. But, I always wanted a truck. And so one day he said, you know what, maybe you should get off your ass and get a job and you'll get yourself a truck. And that always stuck with me. You know what I mean? We're driving, he said, maybe you should get off your ass and go to work and you'll get yourself a truck. And I said, that sounds easy, and that's when I started working. And, and I remember the day I graduated high school, and he came up to me and he was proud of me, and he said, now it's time you go and do your thing. He said, there's nothing for you here. He said, you better leave and go find your way. And I did. Yeah.
If you hadn't had that parental guidance, do you think your story would be different now?
I wouldn't be here talking to you. I promise you. Yeah. I have all my good friends still over there, doing bad things. All my family members, they're still doing bad things. Jail. My cousins are in for murder, you know what I mean? And I bet you 80% of my male cousins are in jail right now. Yeah. If it weren't for my mom and my dad, me and my dad were being so hard, my mom just being this angel, I'd get to come home and get loved on by my mother, It was good, yeah. So I thank God for my parents.
This episode is brought to you by Dry Cleaning by Dave. Family is everything. Family owned and serving Calgary for over 4 decades. Delivering contour dry cleaning with expert stain removal, wedding gown cleaning, and platinum level care. The team isn't just staff, they're family. With employees who have been with them for over 20 years, their commitment is to integrity, quality, and exceptional service that sets them apart. Dry Cleaning by Dave, you're treated like family, and your garments are cared for like their own. Visit Dry Cleaning by Dave.
Yeah. Do you remember a time, like, when you're a young boy and you're facing that pressure? I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it for 2 years. I've seen these kids face this pressure. How did you navigate through that? How did you find it? Like, I mean, the path was obviously a Y in the road, right? It's either take this path or take this path. What was the decision to guide yourself on the path that you're leading now?
I think what helped me a lot was my mom was not from the reserve. So my mom, her parents, my grandparents, lived out in Hilo, a little community Hilo, and he had a farm and cows, and he always had a team of horses, and I'd always go there every weekend because I always, as a kid, and even growing up, I'd always go there just to hang out and help my grandpa. Because the one thing I did do I was taught to work, and I was a young man, and I always worked helping anybody, not for money, but just to go and help somebody work, But I think that's what helped me get to where I am, was my grandparents having off reserve place, and I could just go there, and there was no pressures there. You know, you could just go out and hang out in the yard and do whatever you wanted. You know, go and bother your grandpa's team horses, or but yeah, that helped. I think was my way out, was my mom's side of the family, and that's what got me into rodeo, actually. So
what was the can you elaborate on maybe why those paths were leading that way? Like you talk about your cousins, you talk about it, you had a great parental structure, but how would you, or what advice would you give to a young man in your shoes back then to branch out and become super successful like you have?
You have to have a lot of balls. Those young kids that I see, that they're kind of scared to leave the nation, but why? But I know why. I do know why. Growing up in school, when I went to the public school, non-reserve school, man, it was, growing up in school was a little bit rough for me because I'm not full native, you know what I mean? And I don't, have the fair skin and everything. So I was picked on in the reserve school for not being brown like them. I went to the public school and I was picked on by the white kids because I wasn't white like them, you know what I mean? So I went to the white school and it was so much racist. The teachers, you know what I mean? You look back and they were so hard on us little Indian kids, you know what I mean? But I mean, I am where I am, but that's why I think that a lot of these young native kids are scared, and that's just my own opinion, is that when you go to them schools and you get not bullied, because the first thing that I always say, that these native kids are like little blue heeler dogs, and nip, bite, they'll fight, you know what I mean? Not bullied, but when you get treated bad by other people, it sticks to you. I don't care who you are. If someone says something bad to you, it sticks with you for your whole life. I remember a lot of bad things happening in school. Some non-native kids saying something to me about natives, and it really bothers you, and it sticks with you your whole life. You know what I mean? So that's why a lot of people, like the generation before, like my dad, when he went to the residential school, my dad's a great person, but you could still see, he won't go to church, for what, what the people did to his people, right? He saw it all. He was there for his teenage, when he was a kid. I think he went there for 6 years old or something like that till he graduated school, He went to the residential school, and you could see that there's still some of that hate, and I wish it wasn't like that, and thank God that when I went to the public school, I had some really good friends that were non-native. My best friends were non-native, and when I walked, I could still remember the first day I went to kindergarten. My friend Scott and another kid named Tyson, that they hooked up to me right now, and those are my best friends growing up. You know what I mean? It was so cool, but you always get the other assholes that, that are broad, that don't like natives, right? And you could see it, and they pretend. Pretend all you want, but we know, when they have some backhand comments about the Indian kids. But I mean, for these kids to get off the reserve, you just got to go. Yeah, like I said, it takes a lot of balls for them to do it, and they need to just go and venture out, find some good friends, find a good job, employers, I think I just got lucky, and I was pretty aggressive when I was young, and I wasn't scared of nothing. I'd walk into anywhere like I'm King Kong, and that's what I had in my head. I trained myself to be like, I'm going to go in here, and I'm the stud, you know what I mean? You got to walk in there like, I'm going to go get this job, and I'm going to work real hard to show these guys that I could outwork them. And I did, like that's why people like me when I was young, because I always worked super hard at any job I did. So,
well, and I'm not going to say that I'm not going to use the word luck in any of it, because you said there that you got it from both sides.
Yeah.
You were on the school on the reserve, you got it there.
Yeah.
You went to the public school in town, you got it there.
Yeah.
As a young boy, that must have been really tough to sit there and be like, I don't know what path I have, because there is no path.
Yeah, no one likes me. Yeah,
there's no path.
No one likes me. Yeah. No, it's tough, but if you have to work hard. I always remember someone told me, he said, if you want to make it in this world, you have to work 10 times harder than the white man, which is true. You know what I mean? Like, when we started contract, when Vern first started pulling his contracts, we had to work hard to get accepted. And I'm not even saying maybe we're still not. Maybe people putting on a show. I don't know. But to get accepted in the rodeo world, being Native, you know. So let's go back a little bit. My mom, they'd be what do you call them, AT? So they'd be half Native, right, and half white. So they lived on a settlement called Kikino. We just call it Hilo because they live close to the town of Hilo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to work. Maybe it's my grandpa telling me that you have to work 10 times harder than anyone else to get where you want to be. So it always stuck with me too, and that's why whatever I did, I just tried really hard at it, you know.
So when was it that you went, at what time in your life or what, you know, stage of your life did you say, okay, I'm gonna, you know, was it after high school, was it during high school that you said, hey, I'm not taking this path, I'm not going to continue down this road, I'm going to prove not only to myself but to everybody else that it doesn't have to be like this?
Yeah. So right out of high school, I started, it's funny because I started hunting, guiding right out of high school. But when I was young, I was, like I said, I wasn't a very pleasant, I was the biggest poacher around. You know, I'd go kill big deer and this and that and sell them and whatever. But I mean, so I started hunting and I started guiding, and that's when I started getting all these American buddies and this and that. And I was a very likable kid, you know, right out of high school. And then I got a job. When I was guiding, there was another guy there, and he gave me a job. I was checking wells and running a battery and this and that. And then it kind of took off from there, and it was a really good job. I also went to school to be a pipe fitter, so I worked in Fort McMurray, and I didn't like that life. I was in camp for so many days and a couple days off, and that wasn't the life for me, you know. So I made up my mind quick that I wasn't going to live in this camp for the rest of my life, and I had to find something else. And that's when I started doing odd jobs, guiding or whatever I could find, you know what I mean. And I was a very young man when I knew that I didn't want to be on the reserve. Yeah, I just saw the way their life was, and, you know, I didn't want that for me, or if I had, you know, my kids, you know, I didn't ever want that. So,
do you think that being a pipe fitter, like, you know, going out and being able to do those jobs, do you think that was, you know, a big step in, you know, finding the proper path for you? Do you think, like, having those opportunities?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I think so. You meet so many good people out there, you know what I mean? And you have fun with all these guys. You're young, and after work, go have a couple beers with the boys, and different opportunities always come, you know what I mean? And I don't even know how I got into for me to say that I was going to be a cowboy when I was young, that's probably not. I mean, on my mom's side, they all rodeoed and stuff like that, and they had cows and farmers, but I was always that res kid. I loved to play hockey and hang out with my buddies, you know, which were go play baseball, go play hockey, soccer, you know, and stuff like that. And getting out there and being the pipe fitter, meeting other guys, and you have all these opportunities to do something else. You know what I mean? When leaving that reserve, and then you get to go and work somewhere else. Man, there's a whole world out there for you. You know, and I tell that to my kid. I said, you know, nothing against Lac La Biche, but go out there, man. Go out and see what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like, me and my kid are day and night. You know, he's so allergic to horses he can't be around them, which is sad. But, you know, he plays his guitar and this and that, and he doesn't want to be a cowboy. You know what I mean? But go out there and do something. You'll find something. I guarantee you'll find something if you just go out there and venture out. And you're gonna be so uncomfortable. You know, yeah. You're gonna be so uncomfortable out there, but it'll work out. You know, and it is. It was for me. Rodeoing, picking up, so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But you gotta just walk in there like you're King Kong, like you've done it before. You know.
Do you think that is some of the reason why young kids or people don't leave the reserve, is because of the comfort level, because of the
yes.
security blanket of it?
Yes. As a native kid, you're always picked on. You know what I mean? Like we talked earlier. 100%. I believe that's why. Yeah. They just, like I said, it takes a lot of balls to leave that reserve, and once you get out of there, it's way better. You know.
So super vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, nothing against my nation or any nation. There's a lot of good things that go on.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, I'm living my best life right now because I just left. My dad said, there's nothing for you here. You better go find something. And I did. And here I am, you know. So.
Does your mom and dad still live on the reserve?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. And they're super proud of me, you know, of how far I've come along. And from what I was when I was a young man, and I guess I should be proud of myself, but I don't think I'm done yet, on my accomplishments, so I'm still going to keep rolling with what I'm doing.
So you talked about your mom's side of the family, being involved in the Western way of life, but you didn't grow up in that Western way of life. Like on
the weekends.
Yeah.
That was it. I never had any intentions of being where I am right now, and I would just, like I said, I would just go to my grandparents' house and, I'd get in trouble every weekend because I'd be trying to ride his horses or some stupid shit, you know what I mean? And yeah, I always wanted to play hockey or, just live like the boys. But yeah, no, I never had no intentions of being taking care of stock or being a pickup man. I mean, when I go to the rodeos, I shouldn't say that, because when I go to the rodeos, I always said, man, it'd be cool to be a pickup man. When I was a kid, you know what I mean? That looked like a cool job to me. So yeah, and here I am, I guess.
Yeah. So when was the deciding factor that you were going to take on that Western way of life, where you were going to, become who you are today?
When I was running that battery, the field was going down and there was layoffs, and there was like 5 guys on shift, 4 to 3 to 2, and it came down to 2, and I was a junior operator. They kept a senior on, so I got laid off. And like 2 days after I was at my grandparents' house, and Vern, my uncle Vern McDonald, he came over and he was visiting his parents, and I said, hey Vern, I said, if you have any work for me, I said, I just got laid off, I need a job. I said, I just bought this ranch. And I said, when can I start? Go there tomorrow. I said, I'll find something for you to do. So I started rolling up fence the very next day and started making fence and fixing fence and doing everything around that ranch. It wasn't that big yet, but it had a lot of work to do. And that's how I started with C5. I was probably the first, the very first employee there. Yeah.
Was that the first cowboy hat?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, growing up, I always was with my grandpa, and my grandpa was he had a passion for his team horses, and I remember as a kid we'd go hook up, and he never had a really nice team. It was always something pretty waspy, and I was the guy who ran the trip rope, the run and W, and I remember as a kid trying to hook up these tug chains on. I said, man, and my grandpa would be mad at me, getting, don't do this and don't do this. Like, when I grow up, I'm never gonna have a team. You know what I mean? I don't like this lifestyle. I'm gonna get yelled at all the time. And here I am. I have about 2 teams now.
Yeah.
But that's how it was.
And the journey. So the journey, you said you went there. Vern took you on, bought the ranch. You started rolling wire.
Yeah.
And who was the inspiration? Who was the mentor? Who was the person that developed you into who you are today? The pickup man, the flank man, the stock contractor per se, the looking after the animals, the building them up, the bucking them, the starting them, the raising them.
I think everyone that rolled into that ranch that Vern had hired over the years helped me out a lot, you know what I mean? And I thought, and I never wanted to be anything more than just a chore. I enjoyed doing the chores. I didn't mind fixing fence or feeding every day and doing all that grunt work, But I think everyone that rolled into that ranch, there's been a lot of people, like Dale Kling, that's who kind of started us off. And he was a flank, really good flank man. And that's who taught me how to flank. And a good buddy of mine, Jay Lewis, he was a pure cowboy. He come there and cowboyed, and that's where I learned like a lot of I never was a cowboy. I never went to no roping schools. I never got, you get to see these kids at high school road and have these fancy horses and these fancy, I never had any of that. I had some rugged horse that no one wanted that I probably got for dirt cheap, and like Jay Lewis, taught me how to do some stuff and rope a little bit, and and everyone that rolled through that ranch, I thought helped me out in everything that I did. You know what I mean? You always have to have an open book, and you got to be like an open book, and you got to be taking whatever someone's going to tell you, because you're not always right, and people are better at things. You know what I mean? So yeah, stuff like that.
So like you don't just grow up and start riding horses and start picking up. Like this doesn't come to you. Like you have to. It takes a lot of work. What did you start doing? Was it just the being able to ranch with those guys and being on horses every day and riding different horses that helped you get that leg up into starting to be a pickup man?
Yeah, I think what helped me out a lot is So when we used to go to the rodeos, I always sorted. I was always the guy in the back sorting the animals, load orders, and at the ranch I was the guy that gathered them and sorted them and got them ready to go in the truck. You know what I mean? I think being with those horses and bulls, reading stock is the most important. That's what you need to be a pickup man. It's my own opinion. Reading stock, and you have some guys that want to be a pickup man and this and that, and I said, I always say, go sort some horses and see what they're going to do, and you'll get the feel of them, and just watching their feet and watching the way they move, and you could figure out what they want and what they like and what they don't like, you know what I mean? And you got to figure out a way around them, you know what I mean? Because you can't just bullying them into nothing, you know what I mean? You got to read stock. That's how I think is very important when it comes to picking up. Like I said, I never thought I was going to be a cowboy or what I am today. I don't even consider myself a cowboy really, but it just goes to show that you could do whatever you want if you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not bragging about myself. Getting to pick up beside Gary Rempel, that's probably the biggest thing I've ever did in my life. I've never told anyone that's probably the biggest. When you're picking up beside Gary Rempel, man, that's huge. That was huge for me. He was such a. When I first started rodeo and saw Gary out, he always rode a fancy yellow horse. He was so cool, He was probably one of my biggest inspirations of picking up. And then him joining the team and getting to pick up beside him, man, it was the best feeling ever. Just get to ride in the arena, and when they announced the pickup and you hear Gary Rempel, it's like, man, I guess I'm next. It's so cool. Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, when I was a young kid, so I always wanted to be a bullfighter. Mm-hmm. Ryan Byrne was always, I dressed up like Ryan Byrne. He was my idol. I remember the first time I got to meet him, I didn't, my mom said my eyes were as big as tennis balls, and I was like, oh my gosh, there he is, right? This Ryan Byrne. And then I remember as I was growing up and riding more horses and doing that stuff, I remember Gary Rempel was always that guy for me too. It was I would love one day to be a pickup man and be, like Gary Rempel. Cool, he is so. When you got those, I think it was 3 years he was with you guys. 2 or 3, 3 or 4 years. 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. What did he tell you? How did he mentor you through those 4 years? Because
truth be told,
you don't always get that opportunity to be alongside a guy of his caliber.
But I pay attention a lot to, even watching the boys here at the NFR. I always pay attention to see what they're doing. And Gary never really, I'd ask him for pointers, and he just, you're doing good, or try, he maybe try this, but there wasn't much. But just being around him and watching him, I think that's what I could say that when I started working with him, I got way better at what I did. Just watching him work those horses. Everyone just thinks that the pickup man's out there taking the guys off the horse. It's not. It's, you're picking those horses up, and making them come around you. And Gary was the master at it. It was like poetry out there. When he's out there, sometimes when I was picking up, I'd catch myself watching, like, wow, this guy's, and I'd be late, you know what I mean? Like, son of a bitch, I better go catch up here, you know what I mean? Just watching Gary, just watching him, I think, helped me out the most.
Well, I think you level up to it.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You always want to work with someone better than you.
Yeah.
When you're playing hockey, you always want to go and take that step up and play with someone better than you, because you have to level up. You have no choice.
Yeah. I know, in the announcer world, every time I get in the stand with Brett Gardner, it's always like, oh man, you feel a different inspiration, different passion 100%. Because, you're in there with, a guy who's, another many-time award-winning announcer, and I just, I feel inspired to be better every time you get in the stand with him. And I think Gary would be the same way. And I think, just what is your biggest thing from Gary Rempel that has inspired you to move forward now? What was the one thing he did, or the many things that he does that, have guided you now since his retirement?
I think how smooth he is. He's probably the smoothest pickup man I've ever seen. You know what I mean? He just goes out there. You never see his horse break a sweat. You never see him get into a run. He's always in that nice, slow lope. You know what I mean? He was just so smooth. And just watching that, and you see, that's what you want. And it looks so good out there. You know what I mean? It looks so classy when these guys don't have to work hard. These guys ain't working their horses hard. You know what I mean? It's easier on everybody. I think it's just how classy he was, how smooth he was, and he was such a cool dude. He's such a cool dude. I call him here and there and just to shoot the shit with him, and it always makes me laugh. He's such a just Gary himself is the biggest inspiration for me.
Yeah, and I mean, like even we were talking earlier that time I got to announce on horseback with you guys at Benalto. I mean, just even being able to sit in the same arena as him.
Yeah.
Right, and ask him questions and say, hey, just tell me what you want me to do. Like, and I've known him since I was a young guy. Actually, when I don't even know how old I was, maybe 12. I warmed his pickup horses up at the Canadian Finals Rodeo.
Oh, cool.
It was awesome. My feet couldn't even touch the stirrups when I loped, and he was always that guy that was just shoot, bail on, lope him around,
not ignorant or nothing. You know what I mean? It's always willing to help you. You know what I mean? If you had a question, he'd answer it. You know what I mean? And he was never, like I said, not ignorant about nothing. He was always there to give you a tip if you wanted one. You know what I mean? Gary, hands down, I think is the best pickup man ever walked on earth. Yeah.
And he's got the stats to back it up.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does.
Let's go to your stock knowledge. I mean, you have kind of been there since the start, since Vern started C5, and you guys have had some of the great horses that we have in the industry. Virgil just being one of the many.
Yeah.
How did you learn to get the eye, or who was it that helped you get the eye for what makes a great bucket horse?
Dale Kling helped me a lot with that, when it comes to breeding them mares. So I breed about 60 to 70 mares a year, and my numbers have gone up big time over the years, obviously. But like you saying that, I was there from the beginning, and I know every single one of those mares. I've bucked them, I've rodeoed with them. I know those mares so well. You know what I mean? Because I was there. And throwing them studs on the mares and picking which stallion to what mares. Dale Kling helped me a lot with that. You know what I mean? And just the attitude of the mare to the stallion. And bloodline is a big thing to me. But I'd say, there's been a lot of great people I talked to over the years. I'd go to the contractor room downstairs, and we were just having a chit chat about it last night. And you always take in what you can take in, because there's other people that do it better than you, and you just got to try to keep up.
Yeah, well, I think everybody. It's a game of. Everybody wants to have the best horse. Everybody wants to have the best set of horses, and I think other contractors being in the business, holding each other accountable, I think makes the business better.
Yeah, 100%.
It makes you want to raise. They got a really good bucking horse. Well, I'm going to raise one better, right? And now, like for you guys having Virgil, now the game,
pressure's on.
Yeah, now the game for you is, okay, we got to build another one.
Pressure's on me now. Virgil's done. He got me everywhere.
Yeah.
No one wouldn't know me if it weren't for Virgil. Or he put C5 on the map. Now that Virgil's done, I got a lot of work to do at home. I have maybe 3 or 4 ranch raised horses here at the NFR, which is I love it. You know what I mean? And like I said, you feel pretty proud when especially a ranch raised horse.
Yeah.
So now I go back to the drawing board, and I always say that you got these guys that raise these horses, and you go on Facebook and they know a lot. But if someone ever figured out how to raise these horses, they should write a book, because I'll read it 10 times over, because you just never know what's going to throw your next bucking horse. Like I know for a fact I've had my best horse I ever raised, a Storm Warning, and he has brothers and sisters out there that don't do it like him. Yeah. Virgil has brothers and sisters out there that don't do it like him. Wayne Gretzky, his brothers never did it like him.
Yeah.
So
So is it a trial and error thing?
Yes.
Like, is it just
100%.
Yes. You're going to get the right mix. It's a roll of the dice, right? You're going to get the right mix, and then here's a great bucking horse, and then the rest. There's lots of really good bucking horses out there.
Those great ones that you stick out in your mind. You know what I mean? Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think somebody said there's like 215 horses that get selected to go to the NFR every year.
I'm not too sure what it is.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a lot.
They're not all Virgils.
No. But they're great.
They're great horses.
Yeah, you walk up and watch every perf, and you're behind the chutes, and you have a flank on your horse, and like, wow, that horse is outstanding. Every horse here, outstanding. Like, wow, you know what I mean? And you know, like I should say, the great ones, the really good ones, are super important, obviously. But it's those ones that no one talks about that make your team. You know, those ones that they're there every weekend. You know, every time the band plays, they're dancing. Those are the ones that make your rodeo string, and no one pays attention to those horses.
Yes.
Those are the most important horses that could fill them chutes, and you're still going to be 84 on him.
Yeah.
They might not make the finals, but you know, they got a check out of him, right?
They got a lot of people to the finals.
Yes. Yeah. Those horses play a big role.
That's the foundation.
Yes. Yeah. And I always say, like, you know, those are the ones that you need as those users using horses, because they will make your team. You know what I mean? Because you kick Virgil out there, you only want to put 8 to 10 trips max on him a year, and those guys are bucking and doing a damn thing. They're bucking. You know what I mean? You know, and as long as you keep them fed up and take care of them, I think, and treat them like they're professional athletes is what they are. Treat them like that. You know, I mean, if someone ever came to the ranch and if they saw the daily duties that we do to keep these horses to what they are, and the money spent, like Vern puts a lot of money into the special feeds, supplements, and everything that these horses get. I mean, I think someone should come out there. And, you know, you got all these people that are against the rodeo. They should come out and hang out with me for a month. That'll change your mind of how much we love these horses. You know, I've seen a bunch of crappy comments today when I was retiring Virgil and all this stuff on Facebook, and you have some asshole saying, oh, he's probably going to go to slaughter. Go F your hat.
Yeah.
No, that guy, he's going to be treated like a king.
Yes.
And all our horses, when they're done, they're all treated like the way they should be treated at home.
Yes.
You know, they're eating grass. They're, you know, I got some mares taking care of the babies all summer. You know, I kick them out with the babies in the pasture, and the babies have to learn how to be horses, and that's who teaches them to be horses. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like stuff like that gets me mad at people on Facebook. But I wish that those people would just come and hang out.
Yeah.
And see how much we love these things.
But they won't, because then they can't be haters.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
They want to. Yes. They truly want to believe.
Yeah.
The narrative.
Yes. Yes.
Of what they perceive rodeo to be on an animal. And it's not true. No. None of them will go actually look and see, because they, deep down inside, I think they know it's not true.
Yeah, 100%.
And the best thing that you said there was Virgil gets bucked 8 to 10 times a year.
Yeah. Max 10.
Max 10 times a year.
Yeah.
That's not even once a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's he doing the rest of the time?
Hanging out with his buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, hanging out with his buddies, and you know, it's important to keep them comfortable at home, and we know who his buddies are, and that's who he goes hangs out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's who he's going to hang out with for the rest of his life.
What's a horse doing that these people buy rescue horses to save these horses? What are they doing? They're the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Eating and hanging out with their buddies.
These rescue people, they kick them out the pasture.
Yeah.
And they're out enjoying their life.
Is that not what these bucking horses are doing every day?
They do that every single day. You know, these bucking horses have the best life in the world.
Yes.
They get home, they go eat the grass, they get fed every single morning. You know, I have a guy at home, Rudy.
Yeah.
He's there 8 o'clock every morning. Those horses are waiting at the gate. And they know he's coming, and he opens the gate, and away he goes every morning. They get the best feed, they get the best treatment, they have the best care, you know, the vets, the money, everything that they need, every supplement that they need, they get it.
Yep.
I can promise you that.
And that's why Virgil looks like he's 14.
Yeah.
And not 18.
Yeah, so.
And still looks that way.
Yeah.
And still gets guys to 90 every time they nod their head.
Yeah, we're going to probably be 90 tonight, you know?
Yeah.
But it's how you care for them. You know, like I said, I pulled his DNA a couple months ago, and the lady that did it, she was reading the results, and she said that she had to send it to her superiors because she thought she was reading it wrong. And they said they have never seen an 18-year-old horse have that kind of body. He had a body of a 3-year-old horse with his ligaments, his joints, his gut health. You know, everything in him was sound. You know, and that's just, you got to take care of him.
Sounds like an abused animal to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, they're treated. You could ask my kid.
Yeah.
They're treated better than my kid. He'll tell you that.
And I think we all learn that in the Western way. Like, I mean, I always grew up on those principles that you know, the horses eat before you eat.
Yeah.
The animals eat before you eat.
100%, yeah.
And, it's great that you told that about, max 10 times a year.
Yeah, yeah.
That's less physical activity than in the bucking horse industry, than any athlete ever takes.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
that's why you want a lot of bucking horses too. We have a lot of bucking horses.
Yeah.
So that you're not so hard on that string of horses. And then the next weekend another string could go out, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's those users that make your team. And I mean, those guys, Virgil get 8 trips a year, those guys will get 10 to 12.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot of work for them.
2 more.
Yeah, it's not a lot of work for them. No.
So as we wind it up, what's next for you? What's next for you guys? What's next? Are you gonna stay in the picking up? Do you like the flanking?
I enjoy both flanking and picking up. I do. Yeah. I like picking up. There's more adrenaline that comes with it. You're right in the battle of it all and having fun. I'll pursue picking up. My goal is to raise some more horses to get here. Yeah, I want to. I think that's brings me the most joy is when I have my ranch race horses come to the national finals. That's a big feat for me. So that's what I want to do is raise more. My goal would be 10 horses at the finals.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I want.
That is awesome. One thing before we wrap it up, what advice would you give a young kid out there that's inspiring to be better? It doesn't just need to be a kid from the reserve. It needs, if there's a kid out there that is not a cowboy, that didn't grow up as a cowboy, didn't grow up in the Western way of life, what advice would you give a kid out there that maybe doesn't have a path?
Work hard and ask questions. Always ask questions. There's, I probably bothered a lot of people in life by just asking a lot of questions. I mean, you go to the gym. This is off-road, but you go to the gym. I tell my boy, he likes to go to the gym. I said, you go ask the biggest guy in there how to do that exercise, and I guarantee that he's not gonna be a dickhead or nothing. He'll help you.
Yeah.
People are there's a lot of nice people out there.
Yeah.
I could promise you he'll help you. You want to grow them shoulders? I say you go ask the guy with the biggest shoulders in the gym, and he'll help you. Growing up rodeoing, you go ask the best. Go ask Gary Rempel. You want to be a picket man? Go ask Gary Rempel. You go ask Tyler Craft. You go ask those boys.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great picket men. There's named too, but go ask those guys how to do it. Or if you're doing something wrong, tell, hey, did I do anything wrong? Ask a lot of questions.
They'll tell you if you ask.
100% they will. 100% they will.
I've always said that. Don't be scared to go and ask a question. I did that when I started in the announcer world. I'm like, I don't ever want to ask. I don't want, anybody that I ever asked always told me.
Yeah.
Said this is what you need to do now. Like this, I still ask.
Especially in the rodeo world.
Yes.
There's everyone in the rodeo is so nice.
Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah.
First thing I do when I get out of the announcer stand is go up to somebody and say, how was it?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can see I do better?
Yeah.
I ask, it doesn't matter if it's Dennis Halstead or if it's another announcer, if it's Red Gardner, I'll say, hey, was there something we can do better tomorrow?
Yes, 100%.
Because I think as long as we keep striving for that, we won't get complacent.
Yeah. 100%.
And we'll try to make us better. We'll try to make the business better. Yeah. We'll try to make, everything as good as we can. Yeah. As long as we stay motivated to do so.
And you have to step out of that comfort zone. 100% you do.
Yeah.
My first time picking up, I don't get nervous, but you're a little bit off.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You're a little bit off when you're doing it. And you're like, but you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be step out of that, and it'll work. I promise it'll work out.
The few times, the limited time that I picked up, my biggest fear was always the bareback riding. Guys getting hung up. Yeah. I was always scared. That was my, I didn't saddle bronc riding and pick up all day long, but I was like, oh man, these guys, they're going to get hung up. I don't want to. Yeah. That was my biggest fear. Right. Yeah. But, as long as you keep working at it, you keep pushing 100%. At it, I mean, you can get better.
100%.
Well, your story is definitely inspiring. I know we only had 45 minutes today to tell it. I'd love to tell the longer version of it because I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of stuff there that could inspire the next generation. to not settle for one path.
Oh, yeah.
Make the path that you want to make.
Go do it.
Go do it.
Go do it. You look at yourself, you tell you, I'm the fucking stud.
Yes.
And you go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. 100% go do it.
And then, hey, you can be like him. You can get the bowler hat, the pink bow tie.
Yeah, you do
stand up there, create a whole new fashion.
Yeah.
He's my idol in that too, by the way.
Step out and do it. Yeah.
Who cares? I thank you for being here with me. I thank you for being willing to dive in to that part of your story so that we could tell.
No one knows,
Yeah. And you know what? I think in the future we're going to tell the long version of that.
I can.
And we'll get to places that we didn't get to today. But
yes, sir.
You know what? Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My hands are all sweaty. Good luck to Virgil tonight in the final out that he has. Yeah. Good luck to you. I know it's going to be a big moment for you too.
It's going to be a tough night.
Yeah. I know you're going to do it, and I look forward to seeing what C5 has in the future and in the 2026 season.
We'll be around. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.